This is insane. Let's see how it works. A friend of mine recently told me about a tool called NotebookLM. It's been created by Google and leverages their AI to basically use all your knowledge, whether it's social media content, YouTube videos, knowledge you input, texts, to actually use all that data and compute it to create a chatbot, some notes, and even a podcast about knowledge you've collected on a certain topic. And the podcast part is actually the one that I found very interesting. So I thought, why not create a podcast to wrap up the year about, obviously, ClickUp, because that's what I talk about the most. And it's going to be a conversation between two people talking about me, talking about ClickUp. It's kind of complicated, but you're going to get it. So when you land on this tool called NotebookLM, you're going to be able to create your notebooks. These are basically spaces about a certain topic. And I've created one right here called Abscess. So if we click right here, we have a bunch of my knowledge on ClickUp. So we have my tweets, some videos I've recorded, some of my agency playbook. And this is basically a document that you can actually access that tells you about best practices for agency productivity and setting up project workspaces for agencies. This is a ClickUp guide, so it's all my knowledge and best practices and how to structure your ClickUp. And this is my internal company wiki, so it's got a lot of internal information as well on my company, and I can basically use all of that and even add more content to ask questions about anything related to whatever's in the notebook. So as you can see here, it prompts me with some possible questions I can ask. And I've asked right here, what are the benefits of using ClickUp's collaboration tool as opposed to relying solely on chat applications for team communication? This is actually a topic I talk about a lot, and I advise you a lot to use ClickUp comments rather than Slack or Teams. So it's obviously found that it often comes in my content and can actually pick up all the pieces of advice that I've given through all my content about this topic. So contextualized communication, definitely a topic I talk about, less distractions, streamline workflow, improve accountability, enhance transparency, and etc., etc. I can ask a bunch of questions. So I can say, what are the two most common mistakes people make when setting up a ClickUp workspace? Let's see how it goes. I'm curious to know what I've been talking about. All right, so creating too many items, definitely something I talk about, and not using ClickUp's features properly, very obvious. Okay, you have to leverage ClickUp features, collaboration, accountability, transparency, not having clear goals and processes, planning your workspace hierarchy carefully, take advantage of customization features. And what's interesting is that if you click one of those numbers, it tells you where it found the actual advice or content that it got the summary from. So it's pretty powerful because you see, I've been mentioning taking advantage of ClickUp's customization feature in quite a lot of content. I can just know exactly where with this tool. So for content creators or any business or company that has gathered a lot of knowledge, taking the time to actually put it in NotebookLM, if you're comfortable with the privacy of Google, obviously, can save you a lot of time from creating new content, ideating, creating social media posts, just remembering something. You could even create an FAQ. The possibilities of repurposing your own knowledge are pretty insane. So I'm going to show you a few things before we go into the podcast episode, fully created by AI. Now, first thing you can do is add new sources. So you can add PDF, text, Markdown, Google Drive files, links. I actually have a lot of YouTube videos, as you know, so let's add some YouTube videos of mine. All right, let's add this one, for example, 5 ClickUp mistakes. Hey, I can just copy the link of the YouTube video, get to NotebookLM, and then go into links and add my link, and it should recognize that this is a YouTube video, and you'll pull out all the content, all the transcript from that video, and add it to my source of knowledge. And as a content creator, I find it amazing to know what you're actually talking about very frequently, the patterns that come back, and it actually clears out your thoughts because it basically synthesizes the thoughts that you mention the most. And that's the first thing you can do, adding sources. Next, if I go into add note, I can actually add notes on my sources. This is like kind of a notebook-like. So this is thought for students, I guess. But what's even more interesting is using all of these sources of content to actually create new pieces of content, whether it's written or spoken, from this tool. So you go into the notebook guide here on the right, and it lets you actually create an FAQ, a study guide, table of contents, some timeline, briefing doc. So let's see how it goes if we create written FAQ just out of the blue with the knowledge we have. So it's generating the response that it's pulled from all the knowledge that I've put right here on the left side, and it should pull out a written FAQ on ClickUp. So what is ClickUp and what are the features? How can I effectively structure projects and tasks? Some bad practices to avoid? How can I tailor ClickUp to my team's specific needs? What strategies can help overcome common ClickUp adoption challenges? Set clear objectives? How do I use ClickUp automation features? I like that. So I'll probably turn that into a ClickUp document. And just so that you see the output, I'll put it in the link in the description. You can go have a look at this AI-generated FAQ that actually comes from my own knowledge. So it's not AI using the general knowledge of the world, it's actually AI using your own knowledge or whatever you provided in the sources. And that's what I love. Because if I decide to create an audio overview, kind of like a podcast about my own knowledge, I can do that right here in NotebookLM. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm going to share that with you towards the second part of this video. So the second part of this video will actually be the podcast that's generated probably on ClickUp out of my knowledge. You can go have a listen to that. It's probably going to be very, very relevant because it's going to be like the most common patterns that I talk about. So I feel like it's a great way to end the year and just to wrap up everything I've been talking about this year on YouTube. So let's generate my podcast. So it should take a few minutes to generate an actual natural conversation between two people talking about ClickUp based on my knowledge. This is pretty mind-blowing.
A few moments later.
So it's generated a podcast-like conversation of under 20 minutes that you're gonna listen to right now in the second part of this video.
All right, so we're diving deep into ClickUp today, but not like those basic tutorials you see everywhere online. We're going way past that, you and I, to like find those really valuable insights, those expert tips, the kind that totally change how you actually use ClickUp. You know, like those things you usually only figure it out after using it forever.
Definitely.
Or if you talk to like a total ClickUp master.
It is interesting how so many people use it.
Oh, yeah.
But don't actually use it to its full potential.
Exactly. They get stuck in those basic features and never really see what it can really do.
Totally.
And that's where deep dive comes in.
Yeah.
We're going to uncover some of those hidden gems, those little tricks and strategies that take you from just okay with ClickUp to like a total ClickUp ninja.
I like it.
Now, a lot of what we're looking at today comes from Ramzi. He's a ClickUp consultant known for just insanely efficient systems and workflows.
Right.
The guy's got a knack for making the complicated simple and really squeezing every bit of power out of ClickUp.
One thing that's always stood out to me about Ramzi is that he's all about keeping things simple. Like he really pushes users to just start with the list view.
Huh. Interesting. I mean, it seems kind of weird.
Yeah.
In a platform known for having all these views, why would you limit yourself like that?
It's actually really smart.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about it like learning a new language. You don't just jump into writing poetry.
No.
You got to learn the basic words, the grammar first.
Right. The foundation.
Exactly. And that's what the list view does for ClickUp. It makes you learn those core task management skills, making tasks, assigning them due dates, organizing lists.
So you build that solid base before you get to all the fancy stuff.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
So when you're good with the list view, when do you bring in those other views?
Ramzi says slowly as you need them and as you get more comfortable. Like, let's say you're running a project with tons of deadlines to effectual things depending on each other.
Lots of moving parts.
Right. A Gantt chart would be perfect for that.
Yeah, you can see how it all connects.
Exactly, and see the progress over time. Or maybe your team loves those visual workflows.
Yeah.
And you could bring in the board view and get that Kanban style going where you can just drag and drop tasks.
So it's all about picking the right tool for the job, or the right view, I guess.
Exactly.
How do you keep it from getting too complicated?
Yeah.
Especially with all these views and features.
That's where another one of Ramzi's big ideas comes in, limiting subtask levels to a max of 3.
3, why 3?
It might seem random, but it's really smart for keeping things clear and not overcomplicating your projects.
I can see how too many subtasks could get messy, but why 3 specifically?
It's less about the number itself and more about having a limit.
Okay.
By only allowing yourself 3 levels of subtasks, you have to really think about how you break down your work.
You can't just keep making subtasks forever.
Right, you have to make those tasks concise, actionable, instead of getting lost in tiny details that don't really add anything.
It's like that saying, perfection is achieved not when there's nothing more to add, but when there's nothing left to take away.
I love that.
So you're making it cleaner by setting those boundaries.
Exactly. And even within those 3 levels, Ramzi's big on choosing between subtasks and checklists strategically.
Okay. How do you decide?
Subtasks are great when you're giving work to someone else.
Delegating.
Yeah. Especially when those tasks have their own deadlines and stuff.
Their own little projects almost.
Right. Checklists, on the other hand, are best for those simple things that need to be done within a bigger task.
So like if I'm asking someone to do research, I'd give them a subtask with a clear deadline and maybe even subtasks for different areas of research. But if I'm just making a list of steps for publishing a blog post, a checklist works.
Exactly right. Tool for the job, even within a single task.
Love it. And speaking of delegating and working together, Ramzi's really into using comments and mentions the right way to keep communication clear and people accountable. This is where it gets messy for me.
Oh, yeah.
Comments can turn into this huge jumble of thoughts and questions if you're not careful.
Oh, totally.
How does Ramzi keep it all organized and actionable?
He says to focus on assigned comments instead of just mentions.
Okay, what's the difference?
A mention just gets someone's attention.
Like a little flag.
Yeah, but an assigned comment actually creates a task for that person,
I see.
making them responsible for dealing with the comment or question.
So instead of just saying, hey, can you take a look at this? You'd make an assigned comment saying, please review this document and give me feedback by Friday.
Exactly.
That turns it from just a notification into something they actually have to do.
Yeah, it takes those comments from just a stream of random thoughts and turns them into a system for giving people work and making sure it gets done.
Brilliant.
Right.
And to keep things streamlined even more, let's talk about the ClickUp inbox.
Oh, yeah, the inbox.
That's a beast of its own.
Welcome back to our ClickUp deep dive. We were just talking about that crazy ClickUp inbox. Does it ever feel like it just never ends? All those notifications and updates.
But we'll talk. My inbox is kind of a black hole.
I feel you.
There's always something in there needing attention.
It's a struggle.
I dream of inbox 0, but it never happens.
You're not the only one. Ramzi has a great way to look at it, though.
Okay.
He says to think of it like your email inbox. Try to clear it out every day.
So you're not just looking at notifications, you're actually doing something with them.
Exactly. You're making decisions, taking action, clearing out that mental clutter.
But how does having a clean inbox actually help you get things done?
It's a powerful signal.
Yeah.
It means you're on top of things. Nothing's falling through the cracks.
Yeah.
You're actively dealing with the stuff that comes your way.
It's like going from putting out fires to being in control.
Exactly. You're being proactive and intentional.
This really fits with Ramzi's whole thing about efficiency and clarity.
Right.
It's not just about the tool, it's about being intentional and focused.
And ClickUp is perfect for building a system that supports that mindset.
It is super flexible and customizable.
Totally. And speaking of customization, let's talk about those Click apps.
ClickUps.
Those are basically like little features you can turn on or off
Okay.
at different levels within your workspace.
So you have a lot of control over how you manage different types of work.
Right. You're not stuck with one set of features for everything.
So it's tailored to what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Got an example.
Sure. Let's say you're running a marketing campaign.
Okay.
You could have a marketing space with folders for each project and then lists inside for specific tasks.
Makes sense.
You could turn on the time tracking Click app for the whole space, so you'd track time for everything marketing related.
Okay.
But then maybe you're also working on a software development project.
Okay. Totally different.
Right. So for that, you could turn on the Sprints Click app for your development space.
Okay.
So you can manage tasks within those agile sprints.
That's cool. You're basically building custom workspaces inside ClickUp.
Yeah, each one perfect for that specific project.
And it doesn't stop there.
Nope, ClickUp has all those different views too. Each one is showing your tasks and projects in a different way.
Right. We talked about the list view.
Hmm.
You also got the board view, calendar view, Gantt chart view,
Yeah,
all sorts of stuff.
it's like having a whole bunch of different lenses,
Yeah.
each showing you a different side of your work.
But with so many options, How do you know which view to use?
That's what I was thinking.
It depends on what you're working on and what you like personally.
Okay.
If you're a visual person and love those Kanban boards, the board view might be your favorite. You can make columns for each stage of a workflow and just drag and drop tasks as they move along.
Drag and drop, that's satisfying.
Right. And if you're working on something with lots of deadlines and things depending on each other,
Complicated projects.
yeah, the Gantt chart is great. You can see timelines, milestones, those critical paths.
So you know what absolutely has to happen on time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you're more of a calendar person,
Yeah, the calendar view lets you schedule things, set reminders, and even connect it to your other calendars.
so it's all in one place,
Right. It's like ClickUp can adapt to however you work.
not just a rigid system.
Exactly. And custom fields are a big part of that.
Yeah, tell me about those.
They let you add extra info to your tasks beyond just the assignee and due date.
Like what kind of info?
Things like priority level, budget project phase, any data that matters for what you're doing.
So it's like building custom labels for your tasks
Yeah, making sure you're tracking all the important stuff.
so you don't miss anything.
Right. And you can make different custom fields for different tasks.
Give me an example.
So a marketing task might have fields for target audience and budget,
Okay.
while a development task might have fields for code repository and sprint number.
So specific to the work.
You're basically building a custom task database for your exact needs.
And then there's ClickUp docs too, right?
Oh, yeah, those are awesome. They're like a shared workspace for notes, wikis, meeting agendas, any kind of document you can think of.
I do love a good doc.
The best part is that they live right next to your tasks and workflows.
So you don't have to switch between different apps for everything.
Exactly. And you can put task lists, files, even videos right into your docs.
You super integrate.
It's a game changer for team communication and sharing knowledge.
So ClickUp becomes like a central hub for all your work.
Exactly. And to make things even more efficient and consistent, ClickUp makes it easy to create templates
Templates for what?
for tasks, docs, even entire workflows.
So instead of starting from scratch every time,
Right.
you can just use a template with all the basic info, custom field subtasks already set up.
Exactly. And this leads us to another level of ClickUp power.
Okay, what's that?
Automation ClickUp lets you set up rules that trigger certain actions based on specific things happening.
So you can automate those repetitive tasks.
Yeah, those things that take up time but don't need much brain power.
Like what?
Imagine a task automatically moving to in review when it's marked complete, or a notification going to someone specific when a new task is created in a certain list.
So it just happens automatically.
Right. It streamlines your workflow and makes it less likely you'll make mistakes.
It's like having a robot assistant doing all the little things.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned Ramzi's BATCH method earlier.
Oh, yeah, that sounds
I'm
interesting.
going to go through that.
Absolutely. I'm ready to take notes. What is it?
BATCH stands for break down, automate, time block, consolidate, and handle.
Okay, a 5-step process for managing work in ClickUp.
Exactly.
All right, let's break it down.
That breakdown,
That's where you take big projects and split them into smaller, more manageable subtasks.
make it less scary.
Exactly. Easier to keep track of, too.
So you're turning that huge goal into smaller steps.
Right. Once you have those subtasks, the next step is automate.
Automate.
That's where you look for ways to use ClickUp's automation to take care of those repetitive tasks.
So those things we just talked about.
Yeah, like automatically assigning tasks, moving them between lists based on their status, even generating reports. So you're not just breaking down the work, you're automating it too.
Exactly. Then comes time block.
Time block.
That's all about scheduling specific times to work on certain tasks or groups of tasks.
So you're not jumping around all over the place.
Right. You stay focused, avoid distractions, and make the most of your productive time.
That sounds like deep work.
It is.
Consolidate. What's that?
That's about putting similar tasks together. Instead of looking at tasks by their status, you group them by batch. So you get a clearer picture of what you have to do and can plan your time better.
Makes sense. Instead of doing random tasks, you're working on similar things together.
Exactly. And finally, handle.
Handle the action part.
Yes. This is where you assign tasks to people, estimate how long each one will take, and set deadlines.
So everything is accounted for and everyone knows what they're doing.
Right. So the BATCH method is basically a framework for taking a project from idea to finished product, all within ClickUp.
Pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
It's a great way to use ClickUp's features to build a system that's efficient, clear, and keeps people accountable.
And, you know, as we've been talking about all this,
Yeah.
I've realized that a lot of what Ramzi says applies to more than just ClickUp.
Oh, interesting.
It's not just about mastering a tool, it's about being intentional and efficient in everything you do.
I get that. It's about taking a step back, looking at how you do things, finding ways to improve,
Yeah.
and then building systems that make those improvements happen.
And ClickUp is a great platform for putting those systems into action.
But the ideas themselves can be used anywhere.
Exactly.
Welcome back to the last part of our ClickUp deep dive. It's been pretty amazing seeing all the cool stuff you can do.
Yeah, there's so much hidden power in ClickUp just waiting to be used.
Totally. It's like having a supercar and only driving it in first gear.
I love that analogy. So we've been talking about all these tips from Ramzi Tabka.
Yeah, he's got some great insights.
He does. Does he have any advice on like how to actually build a ClickUp system?
That's a good question. I mean, it could be overwhelming to know where to even start.
Definitely. He actually does, and it goes back to his whole starting simple thing.
Oh, right. Keep it easy.
He says, don't try to build the perfect system all at once.
Okay. That makes sense.
Instead, start with a basic framework and then make it better over time as your needs change.
So it's that agile approach, always improving.
Exactly. Don't get stuck trying to plan for every possible situation or make the most complicated system right away.
Start small and grow from there.
Right. Start with what you absolutely need and then play around, experiment, make it better as you go.
This reminds me of those ClickUp templates we talked about.
Yeah.
Do you think using those templates can be a good starting point?
Definitely ClickUp has tons of templates for different projects and ways of working.
Right, like pre-built systems.
You can use them as a base and then customize them to fit what you need.
So you're not stuck with exactly what the template has.
Right. You can change it, add to it, even take things away to make it work for you.
It's all about making ClickUp your own.
Exactly. Remember, ClickUp is flexible. It's about finding what's best for you, not following some strict set of rules. And as you're building your system, don't forget about automation.
Oh, yeah, we talked about automating those repetitive tasks.
Right. But you can also use it to make sure things are consistent and that certain steps always happen.
So it's not just about saving time.
Right. It's about making things run smoothly.
Can you give me an example of how automation can enforce consistency?
Sure. Let's say you have a process for onboarding new clients.
Okay, every new client goes through the same steps.
Exactly. You could use automation to make sure that every time a new client is added to your ClickUp, a bunch of tasks are automatically created.
Okay, so it's like a checklist that happens automatically.
Right. Those tasks would be assigned to the right people and scheduled with the right due dates.
So you don't have to manually do it every time.
Exactly. You're basically building your process into ClickUp.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
It takes out all the guesswork.
And you can do that for all kinds of processes, from content creation to project management to sales and marketing.
So ClickUp becomes like the brain of your business.
It can be. It's
Mm.
not just about managing tasks. It's about making your whole operation more connected and efficient.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one big thing you want listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing is to remember that ClickUp is just a tool.
Okay.
And like any tool, it's only as good as the person using it.
So you got to know how to use it.
Exactly. Spend time learning ClickUp, experiment with its features. Don't be afraid to mess things up and try again.
It's all about learning and improving.
And most importantly, have fun with it.
Make it your own.
ClickUp can be an amazing tool if you're curious and willing to explore everything it can do,
And remember, you don't have to do it all alone.
right? There's a ton of resources out there. ClickUp's own guides, tutorials, online communities, experts like Ramzi who share what they know.
Whole ClickUp world.
Use those resources, learn from others, and don't be afraid to ask for help. The ClickUp community is really helpful and always willing to share tips.
That's awesome. Well, I think we've covered a lot today. We talked about starting simple, finding the right views and custom fields, the power of automation and templates.
And of course, Ramzi's BATCH method for building efficient systems.
I hope our listeners feel inspired and ready to take their ClickUp skills to the next level.
Me too. It's been a great conversation.
It has. Until next time, happy ClickUpping.
Now, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I know it's a little bit different from what I did so far. It's not only about ClickUp, and I'm starting to talk about AI, and that actually opens up to 2025, where you're going to see a little bit more content about AI, because obviously it's a trendy topic, but it's also a topic that I'm really interested about and that I've tried and tweaked a few things with. And I'm excited to talk about that next year with you, about how you can leverage AI and use it for your productivity and your systems, because obviously that stays what this channel is about. Now, thank you for watching this video. And if it's still 2024, I wish you the best end of the year possible, and I'll see you next year. Have a good one.